Hey, I'm Mike O'Dowd with USCCA, and you might be asking yourself, why are you standing in this random, sketchy parking lot? Well, the answer is, we're gonna be talking today about parking lot situational awareness. The FBI says that 7.3% of all violent crimes happen in parking lots. So we wanna show you a couple situational awareness tactics and techniques to help prevent you from becoming another statistic. So there's two things I like to do. First thing is a pass. I'll do a quick lap of the parking lot before I go into my parking space. I either want to park directly in front of the building as close to as possible so I can see the building and the building can also see my vehicle, or I want to be far away from all the other cars. There's pros and cons to both. So the pro to parking directly in front of the building, you're going to be in front of a lot of people coming in and out of the store, and it's going to be much more unlikely that something happens to you when there's a lot of people around. Going to be a lower probability. But it is going to be a challenge to get that spot, so you may have to wait for those spots. Most criminals, they don't want to be caught, so what they do is they hide behind vehicles and they try to come up on you from an ambush tactic. So by spacing your car away like this, completely away from the other vehicles, it gives you a much better standoff to see if any kind of threat was coming at you. The con is that you are isolated. One of the tactics I like to use from my military days is the 5s and 25s rule. So how that would work is you would take your 5 yards immediately in front of you and you'd clear that visually to make sure you didn't step on any kind of an explosive, and you'd look out 25 yards to make sure there was no immediate threat or ambush coming your way. Then you would get out of the vehicle and maneuver. So I've applied that into the everyday life, 5s and 25s, and this isn't over preparedness or hyper vigilance. It's just something you could practice in your day-to-day that allows you to have a little bit more situational awareness. So I brought Angel out to show you guys kind of what I'm talking about. When that door opens, the last thing I want is Angel to be right here. So if I open this car and there's somebody right here, this is a really big problem for me. Because if he were coming to attack, I have no way to defend myself. I'm pretty much fighting from the seat of my car. I can't close the door because he's already here, and it's gonna be really hard to fight this out. What I would recommend, if you're inside your vehicle or somebody's right here in your space, if they've got a gun, they've got a knife, and they're telling you, give me the keys to your car, or give me your wallet, and they're this close away, number one thing, give them what they say, right? So don't try to fight it, don't try to gun take away, don't try to be a hero. You've already lost. Your situational awareness was down and you've lost that fight. We want to defeat this before it gets to us. We want to defeat the threat before with situational awareness. All right, so I have the window down just for intents and purposes. These windows are tinted, but normally the window's up, doors are locked, and I just put the car in park. But before I turn this car off, I do a 360 check over my right shoulder, rearview mirror, and do a 360 check over my left shoulder, and whoa, look what I have right here. I've got Angel standing. That's my 5-yard check. So something I think is important to note is, look, we're not walking around our daily lives hyper paranoid. We can't be, if I see a person over my shoulder, I can't just decide I'm driving out of here because there's a human being there. They could be putting their kids in their car, they could be putting groceries away. What we're doing is essentially checking, and it gives us a little window to find out what that person's doing. All right, so I've done my 5-yard sweep. I look over my right shoulder, everything seems to be good. So I determine, you know what, it's good to go. I'm gonna get out of the car. Open the car, and now I do my check sweep from here across to my 25-yard sweep. And here I go, I pick up somebody at 25 yards. There's Angel again. Now from here, this is where I don't just get out of the car and close the door and lock it. This is where I decide, is this a threat? I determine, you know what, this isn't a threat, this is just a guy standing here. I close the door, lock it, and go on my way. But the most important piece right now is that transition space. Remember the golden 21-foot rule. We've done videos on this in the past, and we've shown 21 feet is the minimum distance. If Angel decided to take off sprinting right now, he'd be here in under 2 seconds. So my reaction time needs to be ready. So if my door is open and I'm here and he decides to take off, I can get into this car, lock the door within 2 seconds. But once I shut this, and I'm away from the car, my tactics change. I'm no longer going into the vehicle, I'm now out of the vehicle, ready to run or fight. As you walk through a parking lot, something you want to consider is if you see a threat coming at you. It's not your vehicle, you're just near any vehicle, and you see this threat, and maybe you're unarmed and unable to defend yourself. Let's use your vehicle as barricade. So as I start to walk, I see Angel coming towards me. Well, I can start walking into around the vehicle, and what I do is I start keeping an eye on him, and now I'm using the vehicle as cover. Now I have a space between us. So if Angel decided he wanted to come grab me or knife me or rob me, I now have a car in between us. And if he wanted to go left or right, doesn't really matter which way he goes, he decides to come get me, and I can keep moving around. And I've got this little bit of barrier between us. All right? This is where I could call the police, this is where I could take off running, but I'm using the tools around me to stay safe. But most importantly, it's distance. So as Angel's walking towards me, I can't wait until I'm right here to start doing something. I have to see this ahead of time. So I just got all my groceries, I'm walking back to my car, my head's down, maybe it's in the phone, and I decide I'm gonna get in the vehicle. So like most people, I put my groceries on the ground or here, I get my keys out, I open the car, and then there he is. I've lost the fight. I've lost the fight already just because my head was down and I wasn't paying any attention. So remember, your 5s and 25s apply for when you're coming out of your car, but you also play it in reverse coming back into the car. So to do this a little bit better, my head's gonna be up. I'm gonna be doing my 5s and 25s as I'm approaching the car. So as I approach, I'm starting with 25, and I stop and I look and I see an Angel straight over there. Look at that. He's already been spotted. So I can decide one of two things. I can either go back to the store if I feel completely unsafe, or I could also go to my car if I think I have time and distance. In this case, Angel's pretty close, and I see him walking towards me, and I decide, you know what, this isn't worth it. I'm going back to the store. It's probably gonna be your best bet if you don't carry or you can't defend yourself. Maybe you're just small and unarmed, and you see somebody who can overpower you very easily. It's not worth getting into that confrontation. Another thing I can do is move past the vehicle. So if I see somebody, I can just continue going past my vehicle, because the last thing I want them to know is where my car is, and I'll just keep moving on to the next safe place I have. But what I don't want to do is give that person the opportunity to take me and my vehicle right then and there. So as is, I've done my 25s, I see everything's pretty safe, and I decide time to get in the car. I do my 5-yard check, my scan, and I get in, and now I'm ready to go and be on my way. All right, so there you have it. That is situational awareness training while you're inside a parking lot. It's all about preventing the need to go to a concealed carry or to escalate the situation into violence. It's about using your brain and being a thinking shooter to avoid the conflict. If you like what you saw, please let us know, like and subscribe, and check out USCCA.com for more. And as always, continue training, because that's how we move forward and that's how we progress.